Hello and a very warm welcome. Thanks for tuning in to your favorite news destination. You're watching In Your Interest. And on the segment tonight, we're going to closely focus on a region that has tested pretty much all major global powers, from the British Empire to the Soviet Union and the United States. And now it's India's turn to redraw the map of engagement, because for the first time since 2021, India and the Taliban are back at the same table. It is a seismic shift in South Asia's strategic landscape, with India charting a bold new path in Afghanistan. Strategy, not sentiment, is the order of the day. Taliban Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi landed in New Delhi last Friday and met his Indian counterpart S. Jaishankar. And this happened on the backdrop of ties between Islamabad and Kabul hitting a new low. Pakistan provokes conflict at the Durand Line, and China races ahead on the ground. For a government that once called the Taliban an insurgent outfit, this marks a stunning turnaround. But it is also a deeply strategic one. The timing is no coincidence either. Pakistan is bleeding on its western border. Its airstrikes inside Kabul against TTP targets have sparked fierce Taliban retaliation. Dozens of soldiers killed, border posts captured, and tensions not seen since 2001. Islamabad's traditional leverage in Kabul is collapsing, and New Delhi is quietly stepping in, reading the moment as Pakistan falters. The dramatic saga began in August 2021, when India closed its embassy after the Taliban seized Kabul. Soon after, facing ground realities, India made its first diplomatic outreach in Qatar. By June 2022, a technical mission for humanitarian aid was quietly reinstated in Kabul. The engagement deepened over time. In November 2024, India dispatched its envoy to meet the Taliban's defense minister in Kabul. January 2025 marked a watershed moment, with Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri holding talks with Taliban FM Muttaqi in Dubai. And this month, Amir Khan Muttaqi and his meeting in New Delhi led to India announcing the reopening of India's embassy and signaling a new era in bilateral ties. For the Taliban, the motivations are clear. They seek legitimacy on the global stage, and engagement with a regional powerhouse like India, of course, boosts their image. With relations souring with Pakistan, the Taliban are diversifying partnerships to counter Islamabad's influence. They also eye India's legacy of $3 billion in reconstruction projects and hope to attract Indian firms to tap Afghanistan's vast mineral reserves, estimated at $1 trillion. From wheat to power grids, the Taliban need India's aid for economic survival. And India too has strategic imperatives. First up, you've got security. The Taliban have promised no terror activities from Afghan soil targeting India. A big question mark, but a critical assurance given the past threats. A stable Afghanistan is vital for South Asia's security grid, and India now aims to play a stabilizing role. Trade and connectivity are also key. By reconnecting supply lines bypassing Pakistan, India strengthens its regional influence. And then you've got access to Afghanistan's mineral wealth that offers a $1 trillion opportunity for Indian businesses. Geopolitically, this move does complicate the China-Pakistan axis, giving India leverage, and through humanitarian assistance, India reinforces its soft power as a trusted partner. But this reset is fraught with challenges. The Taliban's exclusion of women journalists and ban on women's education clash with India's democratic ethos, sparking outrage. Their ties to groups like Al-Qaeda and the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan raise security fears. Closer engagement risks heightening Indo-Pak tensions, and de facto ties with the Taliban invite criticism both globally and domestically. How does India balance strategy with sentiment? Diplomatically, after all, it's all about balancing interests with values, and that's India's tightrope walk. Because Afghanistan's strategic importance cannot be overstated. Its location makes it a gateway for trade, influence, and security. China sees it as a corridor for the China-Pakistan economic corridor and a source of lithium and rare earth minerals vital for technology. Russia aims to prevent extremist spillover into Central Asia and explore gas pipelines. The United States remains focused on counter-terrorism and countering China and Russia. It needs Afghanistan for that. Whilst the European Union and its concerns, they tackle humanitarian crisis and the opium trade. Pakistan, despite its historic influence, now grapples with cross-border insurgency. Iran seeks to protect its interests from Shia communities to border stability. Which is why The big question that we're trying to decode, and an informed set of panelists, like always on the show tonight, is Delhi's strategy in post-US Afghanistan a blueprint for regional leadership or a gamble with lasting consequences? Has Delhi made a smart strategic pivot, or is it risking its own values? With us on the broadcast is Ambassador Veena Sikri, former Indian diplomat, to help us understand the diplomatic calculus, the recognition dilemma, the lessons from India's past realpolitik. Major General Rajan Kochar, defense and geopolitical expert, with us on the broadcast. Many thanks, General, to help us understand the security, the counter-terrorism, the China-Pakistan angle, and the regional stability. What kind of role will India play? Adit Kothari, foreign affairs expert, joining us live from London, helping us understand the global optics, the Western response, moral diplomacy versus national interest. Those are some questions that we're going to try and decode. And Dr. Zakir Hussain, foreign affairs expert, also with us on the broadcast, helping us understand the ideological shifts in Afghanistan's internal politics and economic incentives. So much has changed over the years. Afghanistan society has, in fact, also changed over the years. Now, Ambassador, let me quickly get the ball rolling with you. India has historically balanced morality with pragmatism. We've got several of those examples, right from Myanmar to Iran. Do you see our engagement with Afghanistan, with the Taliban, as a continuity of that realpolitik, or is it a departure? I'm not going to use any adjectives like is it a better departure or a risky departure, but is it a continuation of that realpolitik, or is it a departure from that?
It's a very carefully calibrated and successful implementation of our neighborhood first foreign policy. And I think this is a very well done aspect that we have been carefully keeping in touch with the Taliban. And I think a very strong basis for this exists in the friendly and really brotherly ties between the people of India and the people of Afghanistan. This is something that goes back millennia. And you know, Foreign Minister Mutaki, even when he spoke at the VIF and I was there, he spoke about Kabuliwala and the tradition of the Kabuliwala, you know, the short story written by Rabindranath Tagore in 1892.
Yep, absolutely.
Spoke about, and he spoke about that, and he said people still remember it. So I think that building on that strong people to people, because even when we had very good relations with the people, with the government of Afghanistan before the Americans left in 2021, you know, our projects were aimed at high value impact projects for the people. We built the Friendship Dam in Salma, we built the Parliament building, we built hospitals and schools and anything that the people wanted that would help them improve their lives. And they remember that. And they wanted to continue. So the Taliban government, the Foreign Minister Mutaki, the new government in Afghanistan, they in fact were very happy when we reinstalled the technical mission, you know, in 2022 to actually handle the trade issues and the development cooperation issues.
Right.
And now all these years they are very significantly want to carry it further to the next level, and India is more than happy to do that. And you can see the success of this in the outcome statement, in the joint statement issued by India and Afghanistan on the 10th of October. You saw that how it was mentioned so well. Number one, that India has been invited to participate in mining in Afghanistan. So they don't want China to have the sole role of mining and, you know, exploiting the $1 trillion worth of rare earth and other minerals. And we also saw that Afghanistan recognized the Pahalgam, they condemned the Pahalgam attack and recognized it as a part of Jammu and Kashmir, India. So, you know, this has in fact led to the Pakistan government calling in the Afghan ambassador. Then I think the constant build-up of our traditional ties when building hospitals, oncology center, trauma center, anything that they want, and they want their students to come to India. I think one very important point you mentioned about the furor about the women not being invited to the first press conference.
Absolutely.
The way in which that Foreign Minister Mutaki tackled it, and in the second conference he called, and there were more than a dozen very senior lady journalists present there, and he also explained that the first time that they were absent was purely a technical issue, it was not any intention. And then he also specifically said that in the Islamic religion, education for women, participation of women is not haram, that is not, is merely an executive order.
He took on some real hard-hitting questions as well, Ambassador. But, you know, looking at this purely geopolitically, can India really afford moral hesitation when you know that you've got China and Pakistan that are already on the Afghan ground? But why I'm trying to ask you this is because critics say that India is trying to normalize the Taliban. Supporters say that India is trying to stabilize the region. I mean, what's going to be your response to that, Ambassador?
I would say that we have always maintained that we will deal with the government in power. While we maintain our contact with everybody, all on the ground, everything that is going on very well, but we always deal with the government in power, and that is the way in which you can carry forward relations at the G2G level and supplement them by strong relations at the P2P, people to people level and other aspects. So I think this is a strong continuation of that tradition, and it's also building up on our neighborhood first foreign policy. We do know that Afghanistan is a very important part of this. We have a border with them except for POJK, Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and we are intending to continue it. And the response of the Taliban government, or the response of Foreign Minister Motaki, is really shows that there is a mutual interest in this. And we saw how Pakistan tried to scuttle the whole relationship by bombing Kabul on the very first day when Foreign Minister Motaki was in India. But look at the way the Kabul government hit back so strongly at them, and in fact inflicted, they say, about 50 deaths of soldiers. So the Taliban government, the government of Foreign Minister Motaki, is showing that they do not hesitate to take on any attacks on their sovereignty, and they will maintain those strong attacks.
Very close to our studios here, Ambassador, the Afghanistan cricket team has found a safe haven in Greater Noida for the longest time. So, I mean, examples and, that are already out there to really show that India and Afghanistan had started to cozy up to each other. But then again, Major General Rajan Kochar, Pakistan's airstrikes and Taliban's retaliation, they've also created a new low in their own dynamic. Is India stepping into the vacuum as a regional stabilizer? And I'll tell you why I'm asking you this, because from a military strategic standpoint, about all the developments that we've been seeing, does engaging Kabul enhance our counter-terrorism shield or expose us to new vulnerabilities? Muttaqi Saab has said that our Afghan land is not going to be used for any terrorism activities or any anti-India activities. But, I mean, how far can that word really go at this point in time?
Thank you, Kabir. First of all, I must compliment you on a very well-researched opening narrative.
I do like to, share that credit with my own team as well. I must take some name. In your interest, executive producer Justin Thomas should be given all the credit for that. But back to you, General. Many thanks for that.
Let me give you a pragmatic assessment. Let me not give you a one-sided story, because we need to delve into a bit of realism. First, we need to understand that Afghanistan is very, very strategically poised in South Asia. It's a gateway to Central Asia, and it is very important to engage Afghanistan, especially at a point, because you must see the timing right now. China has already made inroads there, and recently in China there was a meeting of the Afghan foreign minister and the Pakistan foreign minister, trying to get them closer to each other, because China's intention, is to expand itself with the CPEC and other areas into Afghanistan, and there is a lot to get in. You talked about the rare earth material and things like that. And also, I will take you back to 2021 when the Taliban came, I think 15th August 2021. General Faiz Hamid made a statement in a press conference at Hotel Zarina that with this kind of relationship with the Taliban, Pakistan gets strategic depth. So, from the military point of view, you need to understand that it was a very, very major statement being made by the chief of the ISI, and he had no business to be there, but he was there, and he was responsible for the formulation or the initial settling down of the Taliban government. So there are major issues right now. You cannot talk about Afghanistan in isolation. You have to talk about Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa also, because two major crossings, Chaman and Torkam, are there in these areas, and they are the lifeline of Afghanistan. See, you have to understand Afghanistan is a landlocked country, and all the daily supplies like vegetables and things like that come from Pakistan. So Pakistan is an umbilical cord, I would say, that I would even go to that extent with Afghanistan. So if I talk about a long-term strategy, I don't think Afghanistan can afford to have a long-term discord with Pakistan, and you have to take this statement for the reality, because all Taliban leaders have been brought up in madrasas in Pakistan. They have properties in Pakistan.
Yep.
So the individual interest will always play in the decision making. That is point number one. And now coming to this, India's strategic interest, I don't think militarily India will influence anything there. But certainly India wants to be there.
No, but Taliban's assurances on not allowing Afghan soil for anti-India activity, are those credible or tactical statements? I mean, what side of the divide do they fall on, according to you,
right
General?
now, they are positive statements, and we must take it in that manner.
Okay.
Because later on, the credibility of Taliban will always be a question mark until they prove themselves.
Yep.
See, so far, Taliban has been a non-trustworthy organization, and India has never engaged with them, even if you remember.
You're right, General. This is a litmus test, and I'll tell you what, the entire West is also watching, and to understand that, Adit Kothari is also with us on the broadcast to help us understand the global optics and the Western response. Adit, the West calls Taliban engagement a moral compromise, yet we have examples. The United States still trades with Saudi Arabia and China. I mean, this is hypocrisy, certainly not hard realism, and India hasn't recognized the Taliban yet. So, do you see London, Washington, Brussels following India's pragmatic path if they see that the results actually do show stability?
Absolutely. I think, the double standards and the hypocrisy, the West is well exposed. With what happened in Syria and how they basically recognized a complete barbarian and made him sort of into a head of state, a puppet head of state. Goes to demonstrate that hypocrisy right there. So I don't think they stand on very solid moral grounds as such. From an internal perspective, from an India perspective, yes, there will be international backlash. There will be the odd Reuters reports and the New York Times basically decrying about, how India is, ignoring all the human rights violations. From a domestic perspective, we are already seeing a lot of hue and cry about, recognizing or legitimizing Taliban, which is perceived as anti-women. But if that was the whole stance, then questions must be raised about India's long-standing relations with even Iran. I mean, we've had strong relations with Iran right after the revolutions of the 1970s. So how do you justify that? So from India perspective, people have to realize that it's our interests over giving legitimacy to any foreign government.
Yep.
It's your geopolitical interest which trumps in this case.
Adit, do you think
India is?
Do you think the global powers are quietly accepting Taliban's permanence, but then publicly maintaining that moral distance? Of course, the litmus test is on.
I mean, 2021, when the US basically left Afghanistan in the scurry that they did, I think that in itself demonstrated that they had recognized Taliban's hegemony in Afghanistan. And, the way they left, leaving all of their resources and their weapons and their Hummers and their Humvees, it basically demonstrated that, they did recognize Taliban's existence. So they are dealing quietly with the Taliban. This Bagram airbase, everything coming into the foray now with, Donald Trump wanting to sort of exert pressure via Pakistan into Afghanistan. I don't think it's going to play out very well because, how are you going to go into Bagram? Either you put boots down, which I think is going to be complete political suicide and, suicide in many other ways, or you do a surgical strike via Pakistan, which is not going to hold very long because ultimately there are more. Pakistan has lots more to lose as a consequence, in doing any surgical strikes in Afghanistan. You've got to bear in mind, with the Afghan population living in Pakistan and the way Khwaja Asif basically, calls them Ehsan Faramosh, has not played out very well within the
way they've been treated, especially in the die-hard winter months, to let them off from the border points. I mean, those are real grim pictures, certainly. Dr. Zakir Hussain, the ideological shift, the Taliban of 2025 claims to be different, more pragmatic, more state-oriented. At least Muttaqi Saab's visits across the world do tell us that. From your own study, How real is this transformation actually on the ground? Afghanistan sits on $1 trillion worth of mineral wealth, lithium, copper, various rare earths. The rare earth seduction by the Pak general and Shehbaz Sharif right in the White House is also something that we all see. And I don't know why Donald Trump was trying to humor him. Something more bigger is at play, certainly. He's not that, daft. Is India's engagement largely economic strategy, dressed as diplomacy? And this transformation of 2025, the pragmatic, the more state-oriented Taliban, is it here to stay?
Yes, it is going to stay here. First of all, I want to say that if West calls someone terrorist, the world should call them terrorist. What about Shara from Syria carrying 10 million bounty on his head, and now he's sitting beside Trump?
Yeah,
they are not calling
big
him
massive
terrorist.
hoardings as well. Big massive hoardings. They're calling it the Abraham Alliance after the Abraham Accord. You're right.
That is the alliance. That is the duality of Western narration, and we sit in their shoes. This is wrong. We have to recognize Taliban. We should establish a diplomatic relation, and we should not commit the same mistake which we did in Myanmar, handed over Myanmar to China and others. So it is a call of the time to engage Afghanistan, and one thing is very clear: for the last 20 years, we have not participated in any fisiporious or terrorist activities.
Dr. Hussain, you said we should recognize Taliban. I'm just saying, if India recognizes Taliban, follows in Russia's footstep, where does that place New Delhi between, let's say, Washington and Moscow?
Look here, Moscow and India will come to the same page. India is a power. Why India is looking others' face to be decided by them. India's interest lies there. India has always participated in economic and capacity building. Strategic footprints are also important to guard our interest. We have invested $3 billion there in 500 projects, high community impact projects. We built their parliament, we built dams, we built schools, we built hospitals, we built roads, we gave thousands and thousands of students scholarships. And we are participating, and we have opened our market, our agriculture market, for the product of Afghan farmers, so they may shift from producing opium to agriculture products and ensure them good amount of money. In this way, India has showed, and that has attracted. Taliban has two objectives, of course. They want to break their isolation. This is very clear. And more than 40 countries have established their relation like this. And why there is a lot of hue and cry on us. And 40 countries. Right now, what we find that India should upgrade its relation to diplomatic relation, because this partial relation will not serve us. Because there is no commitment from both the sides to stand for each other when there is a crisis. So this lame duck type relation will not work, and we have understood this very much, and we should upgrade, and we are converting our technical consulates into embassies.
I'm going to ask the ambassador the same thing. Yeah. Ambassador, India has reopened its Kabul mission and stepped up engagement, but should India now take the next leap and formally recognize Taliban, the Taliban regime, or do you think that step would be too far diplomatically? I mean, where do you stand on that? Just your response, ma'am.
I think it has to be a gradual process. And that's very important. We had a technical mission in 22. We've seen that it has a lot of work to do. It needs to be upgraded. We are upgrading. We'll probably have a chargé d'affaires in place in Kabul very soon. And depending on the implementation of this joint outcome statement, the India-Afghanistan joint statement of 10th October, if that is well, all the decisions are implemented well, including the ones on mining, including the ones on no support for any kind of terrorism, the strong joint stand against terrorism. This is a very important aspect. It has to be seen in the fulfilling. And certainly if that goes well, and I'll give it another year or so, we certainly can upgrade to full ambassador. And I think the Foreign Minister Mutaki himself said that yes, they will be opening their mission here in Delhi. They already have something in Bombay, perhaps something in Hyderabad, but they will be opening the mission in Delhi. Maybe they will bring in a senior person as well. And then at the right time, both of us will put in ambassadors at the right time after this process of chargé d'affaires for a short while works as it does. So I think it has to be a gradual process based on very sound evaluation. But this is an important part of our neighborhood first foreign policy, and we're going to continue to attach importance to development of our relations with Afghanistan.
All right, many thanks, Ambassador. General, let me come to you next. Very quickly, completely running out of time here. Would ask you and urge you to exercise brevity. General, strategy must outweigh sentiment. I think that's the bottom line that people are trying to discuss today. Morality versus ideals versus pragmatism. And is pragmatism the new patriotism? Because what are India's red lines when it comes to the Taliban ties, terrorism, women's rights, Pakistani interference, and should strategy outweigh sentiment? What's your response on that?
Kabir, I think strategy must outweigh the sentiments. I tend to agree with the Ambassador Sikri when we say that it has to be incremental. Phuk ke kadam humko lena padega, because we just can't put all the eggs in the basket straight away. We must see how Afghanistan is developing this relationship further, and that is why, see, if we start going on sentiments, as has been brought out in the discussion, there is Iran, there is Myanmar, there are so many countries which are ruled by anarchy and things like this. We still have a very good relations with them, so I don't think Afghanistan can be treated in a separate manner, and strategy is important, because unless we are there, we will miss the bus. We need to smell the coffee right now. It's very important, because India's presence in Afghanistan for strategic reasons, when China is already there, Russia has got its own interest there, US is sniffing around, and if there is absence of India there, then it will be a strategic vacuum, right. I would say that. And therefore, it is extremely important for India to be there in Afghanistan.
So it is the need of the hour. It has to happen gradually. But then again, there are a lot of factors that India and New Delhi will, of course, keep a close focus on. Many thanks to all my panelists, Ambassador General Adit and Dr. Hussain. Many thanks for joining us here on the broadcast. In geopolitics, there are no eternal friends, no permanent enemies, only enduring interests. And today, India reads the moment with clarity. Emotion cannot dictate diplomacy, and morality cannot guard our borders. India first. That's the idea. From Myanmar's junta to Iran's ayatollahs, from China's trade tables to Kabul's new rulers, India's choices are guided by one compass: national interest. The Taliban may test our values, but ignoring Afghanistan cedes ground to those who threaten our frontiers. In the new great game, strategy is sovereignty. Pragmatism is not betrayal, it's patriotism. And that's all the time we have for you in this edition of In Your Interest. Many thanks for watching.
Alakazam face disappear. Moon Dad.
Smooth, silent, seamless. Sliding systems from headache.
नई गाड़ी लेनी पड़ेगी
हमें भी।
शोरूम खोलो जल्दी।
अंदर महंगा इंश्योरेंस बेचने की पूरी कोशिश हो सकती है, जबरदस्ती।
कौन करेगा जबरदस्ती? खोड़ दूंगा इधर मैं। टैक्स कम लाकर नई गाड़ी के लिए हम एको कार इंश्योरेंस ही लेंगे।
फेयर प्राइस, कम प्रीमियम।
बात खत्म।
बात खत्म।
अरे सर बात खत्म।
कार का एक्शन हीरो एको।